So we're in the book of Judah.
Has joined.
Hold on. We're in the book of Judah's page had moved. The 9th chapter in the Apocrypha. Verse 12, it says, I pray thee, O most high power of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, of my father, and power of the inheritance of Israel, master of heavens and earth, creator of the waters, king of every creature, hear thou my prayer, and make my speech and deceit to be their wound and stripe. You hear that? And make my speech, what's she going to say? And deceit. She's going to be lying to them, to be their wound and stripe, who have purposed cruel things against thy covenant. Cruel things against the Most High's covenant, and thy hallowed house, and against the top of Zion, and against the house of the possession of thy children, and make every nation and tribe to acknowledge that thou art the most high power of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the power of all power and might, and that there is none other that protecteth the people of Israel but thou. I'm going to read to you again, because a lot of y'all looking for something else for protection, especially now in these days. But hear what she said. And that there is none other that protecteth the people of Israel but thou. The thou is the most high power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob being the forefather of the 12 tribes of Israel. Hallelujah. Chapter 10. Now after that she had ceased to cry unto the most high power of Israel, and had made an end of all these words, she rose where she had fallen down, and called her maid, and went down into the house, in which she abode in the Sabbath days and in her feast days, and pulled off the sackcloth which she had on, and put off the garments of her widowhood, and washed her body all over with water, and anointed herself with precious ointments, and braided her hair of her head, and put on a tire upon it, and put on her garments of gladness, wherewith she was clad during the life of Manasseh her husband, because remember she was a widow. So she decked herself up, and she took sandals upon her feet, and put about her her bracelets and her chains and her rings and her earrings and all her ornaments. These are the things that the Most High had women looking like, and decked herself bravely to allure the eyes of all men that should see her. But she was beautiful. She decked herself out. Remember, she prayed at the Most High. This is what she said. She prayed at the Most High. In verse 13 of the 9th chapter of Judah, and make my speech and deceit. So she going Yahiquabit. She going in deceit, to be their wound and stripe. You see? So then you know this is what she did in the Most High. This is a prayer that she's praying to the Most High, that he would honor. Judah 10. Verse 4 again. And she took sandals upon her feet, and put about her bracelets, and her chains, and her rings, and her earrings, and all her ornaments, and decked herself bravely, to allure, just like this, to allure the eyes of all men that should see her. You see, all these things, a lot of women deck themselves up to allure all the men eyes that will see her. Until this day, women do this. But this is her purpose of deceit, to get them to look at her. She's already beautiful, and she done decked herself up, so that they would fall for her beauty. So when she went to meet Holofernes, she Yahiquab said, "Hey, I'm coming to tell you what to do. to take down the Israelite soldiers and so forth. She Yahweh, she supplanting, in other words. Listen at this. So Judith 10 and verse 14 said, now when the men heard her words and beheld her countenance, they looked how beautiful she was, and her words of, Yahweh, them thinking, or supplanting them, thinking that she came to give them the way to defeat us, men of war. Now when the men heard her words and beheld her countenance, how beautiful she was, they wondered greatly at her beauty. See, her beauty distracted her. That's why it said, hey, she prayed at the Most High with what? In Judith 9 and 13, and make my speech and deceit to be their wound and stripe, who have purposed the cruel things against thy covenant. See? So, Judith 10, verse 14, now when the men heard her words and beheld her countenance, they looked how beautiful she was. They wondered greatly at her beauty, and said unto her, thou hast saved thy life, in that thou hast hastened to come down to the presence of our master. Now therefore come to his tent, and some of us shall conduct thee, until they have delivered thee to his hands. And when thou standest before him, be not afraid of in thine heart, in your mind, but show unto him according to thy word, and he will entreat thee well. Telling them, she Yahweh, telling, or supplanting them, telling them that, she have the message to bring us down. So they took 100 men with her. Verse 19, and they wondered at her beauty. They were looking at her, wow. Man, they wondered at her beauty and admired the children of Israel because of her. And every one said to his neighbor, who would despise this people who have among them such women? I mean, we got the most beautiful women in the world until this day. Surely it is not good that one man of them should be left. Hear that? Kill all the men. He said, kill all of it. It's not good that one man should be left. This warfare. They kill all the men, that they can have our women. You know what he said? Who would despise this people that have among them such women? Surely it is not good that one man of them be left, who being left might deceive the whole world. And they that lay near Harlephinus went out in all his service, and they brought her into the tent. Now Harlephinus rested upon his bed under a canopy, which was woven with purple and gold and emeralds and precious stones. So they showed him of her. And he came out before his tent with silver lamps going before him. And when Judith was come before him and his servants, they all marveled at the beauty of her countenance. They all looked at her and said, wow, man, she is beautiful. And she fell down upon her face and did reverence unto him, and his servants took her up. So she fell down. Remember, she's supplanting. So she fell down upon his face, and they lifted her up. Judith 11:1. Then said Harlephinus unto her, woman, be of good comfort. Fear not in thine heart, in your mind, the way you think, for I never heard any that was willing to serve Nebuchadnezzar, the king of all the earth. Now therefore, if thy people that dwelleth in the mountains had not set light by me, I would not have lifted up my spear against them. But they have done these things to themselves. But now tell me wherefore thou art fled from them, and thou art come unto us. But thou art come for a safeguard. Be of good comfort, thou that live this night and hereafter. For none shall hurt thee, but entreat thee well, as they do the servants of King Nebuchadnezzar. my master. Then Judah said to him, receive the words of thy servant. Remember what she said, what she prayed for. Once again, in Judges 9:13. And make my speech and deceit to be their wound and strife. Strife, right? So she said, Judah 11. In verse 5. Then Judah said unto him, receive the words of thy servant, and suffer thine handmaid to speak in thy presence, and I will declare no lie to my master this night. Y'all with me? Y'all with me? She prayed that the Most High would have them believe the lie that she getting ready to tell. That she already told the soldiers, now she's telling him. And if thou wilt follow the words of thine handmaid, the Most High will bring the thing perfectly to pass by thee, and my master shall not fail of his purposes. As Nebuchadnezzar, king of all the earth, liveth, and as his power liveth, who hath sent thee for the upholding of everything, every living thing, for not only men shall serve him by thee, but also the beasts of the field, and the cattle, and the fowls of the air shall live by thy power, under Nebuchadnezzar and all his house. For we have heard of thy wisdom and thy policies, and it is reported in all the earth that thou only art excellent in all the kingdom, and mighty in knowledge, and wonderful in feats of war. Now, you see how she's supplanting them. Those that have ears to hear. She's supplanting them in deceit. But she's building up on his ego.
Has joined.
See? For we have heard of all thy wisdom, see? Uplifting them, elevating them, making them feel, he already prideful, working on his pride. In deceit, though. She prayed to the Most High, allowed them to hear her deceit, and to be their fall. Now, as concerning the matter which Achior did speak in thy counsel, we have heard his words, for the men of Bethuel saved him, and he declared unto them all that he hath spoken unto thee. Therefore, O master and governor, reject not his word, but lay it up in thine heart. Your heart is your mind, the way you think. But it is true, for our nation shall not be punished, neither can the sword prevail against them, except thy sin against their power, except we, as the children of Israel, sin against the Most High power. And now that my master be not defeated and frustrate of his purpose, even death is now fallen upon them, and their sin have overtaken them. See, if we sin, the Most High is not with us, therefore we're going to be overtaken. That's what she's saying. Wherewith they will provoke their power to anger, whensoever they shall do that which is not fit to be done, or sin against the Most High's rules and regulations, his laws, statutes, commandments. For their victuals fail them, and all their water is scant. Meaning we don't have much food, don't have much water, and they have determined to lay hands upon their cattle, in purpose to consume all those things that the Most High have forbidden them to eat by his laws. You see, unclean meats, and are resolved to spend the first fruits of the corn and the tenths of wine and oil which they had sanctified and reserved for the priests that serve in Jerusalem before the face of our power, the which things it is not lawful for any of the people so much as to touch with their hands. But they have sent some to Jerusalem, because they also are that dwell there have done the like, in breaking the Most High's laws and statutes and commandments, to bring them a license from the Senate. Now when they shall bring them word, they will forthwith do it, and they shall be given thee to be destroyed the same day. Wherefore I thy handmaid, knowing all this, and fled from their presence, because they dealing with sin. And the Most High have sent me to work things with thee, whereat all the earth shall be astonished, and whosoever shall hear it. For thy servant is religious, and serveth the power of heaven day and night. Now therefore, my master, I will remain with thee, and thy servant will go out by night into the valley, and I will pray unto the Most High, and he will tell me when they have committed their sins, and I will come and show it unto thee. Then thou shalt go forth with all thine army, and there shall be none of them that shall resist thee. See, that's why I say, you understand, when you understand, go to Ezekiel 39 to 23. What she's telling them, she said, look, they sinned against the Most High. We Israelites sinned against the Most High. Now you can go get them. Now's the time you can bring them down. So Ezekiel 39:23 says, and the heathen, just like him, one of the leaders of the Assyrians, shall know that the house of Israel, the family of Israel, the Israelites, 12 tribes of Israel, went into captivity for their iniquity, right? For breaking the Most High's laws. Because they trespassed against me. We trespassed against the Most High. That's what she's telling this king. Or not the king, but the master of the Assyrians' army. He said, we were in captivity because we trespassed against the Most High. Therefore hid I my face from them and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword. See? So that's what she's telling them. Same thing that we see in here that is something that we have to take heed to, because this is what happens to us over and over again. Verse 19 of Judith 11th chapter. And I will lead thee through the midst of Judea until thou come before Jerusalem. And I will set thy throne in the midst thereof. And thou shalt drive them as sheep that have no shepherd. And a dog shall not so much as open his mouth at thee. For these things were told me according to my foreknowledge, and they were declared unto me, and I am sent to thee. Tell thee. Say, I'm sent to tell thee. Remember, she's supplanting him, though. Don't forget what she prayed to the Most High for in Judith 9 and 13. And make my speech and deceit be their wound and stripe. You see? So now, this is what the plan that she have through the power of the Most High, through that prayer she prayed, is going down. Judith 11 and 19. And I will lead thee through the midst of Judea until thou come before Jerusalem. And I will set thy throne in the midst thereof. And thou shalt drive them as sheep that have no shepherd. And a dog shall not so much as open his mouth at thee. For these things were told me according to my foreknowledge. And they were declared unto me. And I am sent to tell thee. Then her words pleased Holofernes and all his servants, and they marveled at her wisdom and said, there is not such a woman from one end of the earth to the other, both for beauty of face. That's first thing they acknowledged how beautiful she was, right? She decked herself out. She looking good. Saying for beauty of face and wisdom of words. And the wisdom of the words that she asked the Most High to give her in deceiving them to bring them down. Likewise, Holofernes said unto her, Most High have done well to send thee before the people, that strength might be in our hands and destruction upon them that lightly regard my master. And now thou art both beautiful in thy countenance and witty in thy words. Surely, if thou do as thou hast spoken, thy power shall be my power, and thou shalt dwell in the house of the king of Nebuchadnezzar, and shall be renowned through the whole earth. So now, um, let's look at so um, let's look at verse Judah 12 and 13. Then went Boaz from the presence of Holofernes and came to her, and he said, let not this fair damsel fear to come to my master and be honored in his presence, and drink wine, and be merry with us, and be made this day as one of the daughters of the Assyrians, which served in the house of Nebuchadnezzar. Then said Judah unto him, who am I now that I should gainsay? That I should gainsay. He said, who am I that I should gainsay? My master. Surely whatsoever pleases him I will do speedily, and I shall be my joy until the day of my death. So she arose and decked herself with her apparel and all her woman's attire, and her maid went and laid soft skins on the ground for her over against Holofernes, which she had received of Boaz for her daily use, that she might sit and eat upon them. Now when Judah came and sat down, Holofernes, his heart was ravished with her. He wanted to have her. She sat down, this beautiful woman sat down, and his mind was moved, and he desired her. He desired greatly her company, for he waited a time to deceive her from the day that he had seen her. See, he waiting to deceive her, when she deceiving him through the power of the Most High. Then said Holofernes to her, drink now and be merry with us. So Judah said, I will drink now, my master, because my life is magnified in me this day more than all the days since I was born. Then she took and ate and drank before him what her maid had prepared, right? She ate and drank what her maid had prepared, not what they had. She ate and drank what her maid had prepared, in dealing with clean meats and clean drinks. And Holofernes took great delight in her, and drank much more wine than he had drunk at any time in one day since he was born. So he drank all this wine. He getting drunk. So let's see what happened. In Judah's 13th chapter. Now when the evening was come, his servants made haste to depart, and Boaz was shut his tent without, and dismissed the waiters from the presence of his master. And they went to his beds, for they were all weary, because the feast had been long, a long time, and a long time he drinking, getting drunk. Holofernes. And Judah was left alone in the tent. So she left alone in the tent. And Holofernes lying along upon his bed, for he was filled with wine, drunk with wine. Now Judah had commanded her maid to stand without her bedchamber, and to wait for her coming forth, as she did daily. For she said she would go forth to her prayers. And she spake to Boaz according to the same purpose. So all went forth, and none was left in the bedchamber, neither little nor great. So all of them left the bedchamber, except for Judah and Holofernes. Then Judah, standing by his bed, said in her heart, O Most High Power of all power, look at this present upon the works of mine hands, for the exaltation of Jerusalem, the land that you love, Most High. For now is the time to help thine inheritance, which are the 12 tribes of Israel, and to execute mine enterprise to the destruction of the enemies which are risen against us, these Assyrians. Then she came to the pillar of the bed, which was at Holofernes' head, and took down his fashion from thence, the covering that be over the bed, and approached to his bed and took hold of the hair of his head and said, strengthen me, O most high power of Israel, this day. Give me strength in his arm, O power of most high. And she smote twice upon his neck. And she smote twice upon his neck with all her might, all she had. Shoo! Shoo! 2 times. And she smote twice upon his neck with all her might. And she took away his head from him. She took his head off with 2 stripes. Boom! Boom! She took his head off and tumbled his body down from the bed, pushed his body down from the bed, and pulled down the canopy from the pillars. And Anan, after she went forth, and gave Holofernes his head to her maid. So she took his head, she done chopped his head off, and took his head and gave his head to her maids. This is a powerful woman right here. Judah. She hit twice. Boom! Boom! Took his head off. And took his head, picked his head up. You know, she pushed his body out the bed, took his head and gave his head to her maid. And she put it in her bag of meat. You know that? She put his head in her bag of meat. So they twain, both of them, went together according to their custom unto prayer. She'd have cut his head off, now she going to pray to the Most High. And when they passed the camp, they compassed the valley and went up the mountain of Bethulia and came to the gates thereof. Then said Judah from far off to the watchmen at the gate. They watching, we looking, the Israelites, we looking, men looking at the gate. Open now the gate. The Most High, even our power, is with us to show his power yet in Jerusalem and his forces against the enemy, as he hath even done this day. Now when the men of her city heard her voice, they made haste to go down to the gate of their city, and they called the elders of the city. And then they ran all together, both small and great, for it was strange unto them that she was come. So they opened the gate and received them, and made a fire for a light, and stood round about them 2 women, Judah and her maid. She done chopped the head of the enemy off, put it in a bag, and bring it to them. Then she said to them with a loud voice, praise, praise the Most High, praise the Most High, I say, for he have not taken away his mercy from the house of Israel, but have destroyed our enemies by mine hands this night. Because she didn't tell them what she was going to do. A lot of times, the things that you're going to do, you don't need to be telling everybody. You know, go to the Most High, or your someone that you actually, the less people, the better. I'll say that, you know. Because she didn't tell them what she was going to do. A lot of times, you have these negative spirits. No, she can't do that. It's not going to work. And they be negative against what your plan is of action. So it's not good to tell people everything you're going to do. Go to the Most High. Or those that are going to go to the Most High with you in the same reasoning together to make these things manifest. But she didn't tell nobody. You just say, watch what's going to happen. So she took the head out of the bag of Holofernes and showed it and said unto them, behold, the head of Holofernes, the chief captain of the army of Assyria, of Ashur. And behold, the canopy wherein he did lie in his drunkenness. And the Most High have smitten him by the hand of a woman. You hear that? Because the Most High is the one that brings forth death. But see how we still give the Most High the glory. The Most High has smitten him by the hand of a woman. And the Most High liveth, who have kept me in my way that I went. My countenance has deceived him to his destruction. And yet have he not committed sin with me to defile and shame me. Hear that? So all you women get what these other nations say. You are, especially an Israelite woman he's talking about. She's talking about, you are defiled and a shame upon you when you deal with these other nations. Then all the people were wonderfully astonished and bowed themselves and worshiped the Most High and said with one accord, Blessed be thou, O Most High, our power, which have this day brought to nothing the enemies of thy people. See, hallelujah, to the Most High. But, you know, two stories of warrior women. That's why we were dealing with, you know, the Feast of Dedication with Judas Maccabees being and his brothers being the top army, taking down the Greeks. Now you see, women, we had powerful women too, that done great things in war as far as dealing with, like we just read, destroying our enemy. Yah quabbed him, supplanted him, and took him down. Matter of fact, took his head off of him, as it is written. I know some of y'all don't like to hear that because y'all so docile and not realizing that this is our story. We got a lot of powerful women. Women didn't go to war though. You know, so that's these case scenarios that you see is them operating on their own through the power of the Most High. So let's go to Numbers, the 31st chapter, the first verse. Numbers 31 and 1. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Avenge the children of Israel of the Midianites. Afterward shalt thou be gathered unto thy people. So he's saying, avenge the children of Israel of these Midianites. And Moses spake unto the people, saying, Arm some of yourselves unto the war, and let them go against the Midianites, and avenge the Most High power of Media. Revenge not the Most High, but the master of the Midianites. Because the Most High, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We said they put that Lord there and say, of every tribe 1,000 throughout all the tribes of Israel shall ye send to the war. So there were delivered out of the thousands of Israel, 1,000 of every tribe, 12,000 armed for war. See, we warriors, a nation of warriors. So they were delivered out of the thousands of Israel, 1,000 of every tribe, 12,000 armed for war. And Moses sent them to the war, 1,000 of every tribe, them and Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, to the war with the holy instruments and the trumpets to blow in his hand. We had a lot of times we had the army was behind the instruments that we played music going to war. And they warred against the Midianites as the Most High commanded Moses. And they slew all the males. Hear that? Killed all the males. And they slew the kings of the Midian, beside the rest of them that were slain, namely Evi and Rechem and Shur and Hur and Rabbah, 5 kings of Midian. Balaam also, the son of Beor, they slew with the sword. And the children of Israel took all the women of Midian captives, and their little ones, meaning their children, and took the spoil of all their cattle, and all their flocks, and all their goods. So once you war, then the things that you kill on all the males, then you be able to get the spoils of things that they had. And a lot of times, you know, we went to war with our best attire. We didn't go to war with shabby clothes. We had a jewels, we had everything. So if you lose, they're gonna be able to get whatever you have on. take your garments. A lot of times, most I say, don't touch nothing that they have. Don't touch nothing that they have. And sometimes he would say it was okay to get the spoils, but not all the time. Sometimes he said, like, don't touch nothing that they have. Don't take nothing. But you see, he allowed us to get the Midianites, spoils. And they burnt all their cities wherein they dwelt, and all their goodly castles with fire, burned it down. And they took all the spoil and all the prey, both of men and of beasts. And they brought the captives and the prey and the spoil unto Moses and Eleazar the priest, and unto the congregation of the children of Israel, unto the camp at the plains of Moab, which are by Jordan near Jericho. So we warring in the wilderness against the Midianites. Verse 13, and Moses and Eleazar the priest and all the princes of the congregations went forth to meet them without the camp. And Moses was wroth with the officers of the host, with the captains over thousands. So we had this army. We had captains over thousands and the captains over hundreds, which came from the battle. And Moses said unto them, have ye saved all the women alive? Behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Baalim to commit trespass against the Most High in the matter of Peor. And there was plague among the congregation of the Most High. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones. He would have said, now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that has known man by lying with him. Kill every last woman that has lied with a man. If she's not a virgin, kill her. I'm going to read you again. Now therefore kill every male among the little ones. Kill every last male child. And kill every woman that have known man by lying with him. Because the woman takes on that man's DNA, as they call it. Right? So he said, kill every woman that has lied with a man. With a virgin, she gonna take on the man's seed. That's why he said, kill all these women that have laid with men. Because their DNA is all in their womb. It don't go nowhere. That's why he said, now therefore kill every male among the little ones. And kill every woman that have known man by lying with him. Every woman that have known man, one of these Midianite men, kill them. But all the women, children, that have not known a man by lying with him, by having sexual intercourse with him, keep alive for yourselves, he said. And do ye abide without the camp 7 days. Whosoever have killed any person, because that blood is upon them, 7 days. And whosoever have touched any slain, purify both yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. So you have to purify yourself on the 3rd day and the 7th day. And purify all your raiment and all that is made of skins and all work of goat's hair and all things made of wood. Got to purify them. Eleazar the priest said unto the men of war which went to the battle, this is the ordinance of the law which the Most High commanded Moses. Only the gold and the silver, the brass, the iron, and the tin, and the lead, everything that may abide the fire, ye shall make it go through the fire, and it shall be clean. See, he say you only can save things. He telling them the things that could go through the fire, that can be cleaned up. Like he gonna clean up this earth with what? Fire. 2 purified elements, water and fire. So he's bringing that fire, as we done seen, to purify this earth. That's why he said every metal that can go through fire and be cleaned up, get that. Only the gold and the silver and the brass, the iron and tin and the lead. Everything that may abide the fire, ye shall make it go through the fire, and it shall be clean. Nevertheless, it shall be purified with the water of separation, and all that abide not the fire ye shall make go through the water. And ye shall wash your clothes on the seventh day, and ye shall be clean. And afterward ye shall come into the camp. You hear that? See, they had to be out of camp 7 days they went to war. Third day they purified themselves, and the seventh day they purified themselves. And you shall wash yourselves, you wash your clothes on the seventh day, and you shall be clean. And afterward ye shall come into the camp. The Most High spake unto Moses, saying, take the sum of the prey that was taken, both of man and of beast, thou and Eleazar the priest and the chief fathers of the congregation, and divide the prey into 2 parts between them that took the war upon them who went out to battle, and between all the congregation. So you looking at the ones that went to battle in the war, and you divide amongst the congregation, he said. And levy a tribute unto the Most High power of the men of war, which went out to battle. 1 soul of 500, both of the persons and the breeds, and of the asses and of the sheep. Take it of their half, and give it unto Eleazar the priest for an heave offering unto the Most High, of the Most High. The children of Israel's half, thou shalt take 1 portion of 50 of the persons of the sheaves, of the asses, and of the flocks, and all manner of beasts, and give them unto the Levites, who are the priests, who are divided among all the tribes, to bring forth the Most High's law, which keep the charge of the tabernacle of the Most High. See? So, from there, let's look at how the Most High said, kill all the males, and even little males. And he said, also, kill all the women that have laid with men. So, how did they know that these women laid with men? They had to examine them one way or another. That's just something that you had to think about. It wasn't going on no word of mouth. So these women that had laid with men, some way they had to find out if they had laid with a man, that they was not virgins. Think about it. Something to think about. He killed them. He only wanted the virgins, ones that had not laid with men. And they had to stay out of the camp 7 days to be clean. The third day they purified themselves, and the seventh day they purified themselves. So from there, let's look at Exodus the 17th chapter. Go to Exodus the 17th chapter. And since we're dealing with war, let's look at some more war. Verse 9. And Moses said unto Joshua, well, let's read verse 8. Then came Amalek, these are the Jewish people today, Esau's grandson, the Edomite Amalek, and fought with Israel in Rephidim, right? And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men, and go out fight with Amalek. Go out and fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of the Most High in mine hand. So he's telling them, choose out chosen men to go fight with Amalek, who would be the Jewish people today. He said, going to stand at the top of the hill with the rod of the Most High in his hand. Got a rod of the Most High in his hand. So Joshua, verse 10, so Joshua did as Moses had said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. So Joshua out there battling with the men. And it came to pass, when Moses held up his hand, that Israel prevailed. So when Moses held up his hand like this, had his hands up, we prevailed in the war. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. So when he had his hands up, we was winning. But when he let his hands down, Amalek prevailed. We was losing. But Moses' hands were heavy. He was a big dude. So his hands were heavy. And they took a stone. Look what they did. They took a stone and put it under him. And he sat thereon. He put a stone, so he sat on this stone. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands. So Aaron was on this side, and Hur was on that side, hold up his hands, so his hands could be held up, right? As he sit on the stone. The one on the one side and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. So they held his hands up to the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Joshua out there warring against them. And the Most High said unto Moses, write this for a memorial. That's why we're reading it in a book. That's why we're reading it now. And rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. Tell it to Joshua, for I am utterly put out Most High said, I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Jehovah Nisi. For he said, this is what he said, because the Most High power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Jacob being the forefather of the 12 tribes of Israel, for he said, because the Most High has sworn that the Most High will have, for the Most High has sworn that the Most High will have what? War. For the Most High has sworn that the Most High will have war with Amalek. From when? From generation to generation. That's why there's not going to be no peace over there in the Middle East, as they call it. Because the Most High has sworn that he will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Just say the Most High. Just a moment.